do you watch film on yourself, right? What is Kyla's film study on herself? Do you use that to kind of help you sharpen your tools? Or if you don't, what do you use to help keep yourself sharp?
Oh, I critique myself every day. I go back and watch my newscasts every day. If I could have made more emphasis on something, or, like if I needed to punch that word better, or, look more serious when I come up on camera, everything. I critique myself all the time because you could just get better. It was a phrase that I didn't originally like to hear, but sometimes you just have to step back and just be honest, and we can always get better and always improve. And so that's what I'm always working on, because of course, my father's up there down below, and, my mother's still here, and I just want them to always be proud, and my whole family, So I want to become the best version of me, better than yesterday's version of me every single day.
Welcome to the Cypher, flow harder than the hands on Peter Piper. And now we would like to introduce you to your rivals. It's like Ali and Tyson, the hook miss with the liking. So nothing, Mr. Bison, Maximus and Leonidas. You were in the booth with Titans, goons, goblins, and Vikings. It ain't really nothing like us.
Hey, welcome back for another episode of the L.I.T Code. I'm Edgar Jones. I got Courtney Anderson in the house with me as well. But we also have a special guest in the house that's also wearing a Jimi Hendrix t-shirt. And I love blues and I love Jimi Hendrix. We'll let her talk a little bit about that after Courtney does his introduction. But hey, first of all, I want to thank everyone that's been supporting us, that's been tuning in, that's been sharing our podcast. We extremely appreciate that. And continue to give us feedback, because we also understand that we have blind spots in life. And there's certain things we cannot see. And in order to grow, I have to be able to identify the things I cannot see and be willing to change. And we're constantly on this journey of bettering ourselves and trying to change. So thank y'all again. We extremely appreciate it. We greatly appreciate it. And without any more of me talking, I'm going to let Courtney take it away.
Yeah, what's up, y'all? Like Edgar said, thank y'all for watching, listening via Spotify, via Apple, Facebook, YouTube, whatever you're watching on, whatever you're listening on, whether you're listening for a minute or the whole hour, because we can get kind of long-winded. We appreciate y'all wholeheartedly. As Edgar said earlier, we do have a special guest here, and I get to introduce her because we share some alumni history, right? First and foremost, the Macedonian Baptist Church of Rayville, Louisiana is where we cut our teeth in. She's also an alumni of Rayville High, where Edgar and myself also went a couple of our previous guests, including Mr. Roger Timber, aka Johan, and Mrs. Aja Osbury, Johnson Osbury, I'm sorry. Anyway, she's also alumni of the other HBCU in Louisiana.
Whoa.
not time yet, Kyla. Just Grambling State University. Class of, what we're looking at, 05?
Yeah.
Class 05? Okay. Class 05, and also ULM, formerly known as Northeast Louisiana University, or NLU, class 2012. So she's alumni of all that. And now, no matter what, she's also an alumni of KRD and KTVE, which is our local news stations in Monroe, Louisiana, right? Why is that important? Because she's now the anchor for the news, right? And I know a lot of kids where we're from or abroad, all over the world, right? When you have dreams, for boys, it's usually to play a sport of some sort, or to be a rapper, singer, some kind of entertainer. usually the goal is to get on TV, right? That's everybody's dream when they're younger, watching the TV and wishing that you could be on it, right? And coming from Rayville, Louisiana, it's not many of us to get to be on there, right? And especially not bringing the news, and to be a woman of color that looks like us, right? And that's walked the same streets we walked in and the same halls that we walked and been educated by some of the same people. It's a big testament to just her and who she is. Now, just like anybody else, that journey, it's not easy. You don't just end up on TV overnight, right? And like we said, she graduated from Grambling in 2005, mass communications. I think she made her debut on TV, actually bring the news in 2019, right? So that's a 14-year gap there. So, you know, we know it didn't just happen overnight. Anyway, without further ado, I want to introduce to y'all Miss Kyla Scott of Rayville, Louisiana.
Hi, everybody. What's going on? So glad to podcast with you guys, and it's nice to see you all.
Yeah, nice to see you too.
Hey, well, thank you for taking the time out to be to do this for us. We appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's an honor.
Yeah. All right, so start at the beginning, right? I'm gonna say a couple of names here, and I know these names will probably make you touch your heart a little bit, but we're gonna start right at the top with Mr. Willie and Mrs. Betty Scott, right? your parents, okay, rural South, right? Rayville, Louisiana.
Right.
Kyla comes from what we would call an old school family, right? To where you have siblings, just like my mother did. Some of your siblings are old enough technically to be your parents, right? Now, some people would say, oh man, like, I wonder how that would be to come up with siblings that think they're your mom and daddy too. But it also be some advantages to that. So talk about growing up in that old school family and what Mr. Willie, the late Mr. Willie and Miss Betty mean to you.
Oh man, they mean the world to me. You know, my father, he was so proud of me. You know, like even in his, last days, just wanting to brag to the nurses. And it's like, I need to listen to them because they're giving me important instructions. I appreciate it. I promise. Like, that kind of a guy, and my mother, God bless her heart, she's still alive. I just visited her at the nursing home. And, those two people are, when you see me, you see the manifestation of their love and their faith and their willingness to help people. And just like, I feel like I'm that manifestation. All of their children are. I had a very unique childhood because I grew up, like you mentioned, I grew up with my nieces and nephews. We were the same age, Family dynamic was wild, like I was born an aunt, so, but they, they mean the world to me. They put me on the right path. They made sure that I knew my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And, church was a big part of our household, a big part of my life now. And I think that it has helped me to get where I am now. And I think it's going to take me to the next level. No doubt about it.
Yeah. Edgar mentioned your t-shirt earlier. Showcases Jimi Hendrix, right? And you're on TV now. You're in front of people. Mm-hmm. Little known fact about Mr. Scott: most people may know him as Mr. Fix-It around the area for fixing the appliances, but he was also in his own singing group early on, way before my time, right? And then we go on to Macedonia Baptist Church where you have Miss Lee, right? And every time that there was a play, we didn't really have a choice. We were gonna participate. What I'm getting at is Mr. Willie had already shown you it was okay to get up in front of people, and he was actually portraying a talent. It is a talent for you to get in front of people and be able to speak through a whole set, right? While people are speaking in your ear, there's other stuff going on, and you have to maintain this face and this smile, and then you have to you have to bring your message across to everybody. That's a talent. What I'm getting at is, how did that help you, knowing that your father would be singing in front of people, and then Miss Lee putting us in plays? How did that help prepare you for what you do now?
Oh, and it really set me up for the expectation of what I'm actually working in today. You know, like you said, performing is, you know, it's all about preparation, and it's all about, you know, having a skill and knowing what you know. And when it came to my father and a bass and a guitar, he knew those. And so, you know, when it came, or even singing, when it came to or time to perform, you know, like, and I went and watched those performances as a kid, and, you know, like him playing with his gospel group. The name is the Soul Guides. And we laugh about it today. Like, anytime the family gets together, we talk about how annoyed we used to be as kids, having to, you know, spend our Sundays at some church in the country, you know, like with them performing. And, you know, they recorded a few albums. And so it's just a blessing to have been able to come from a background that, you know, has an appreciation for music and performing. And so it helped to instill some of this sort of like a confidence, like down in me, that I can always tap into, you know, because I don't think I ever thought to ask my dad, you know, was he nervous to play the guitar, because I heard him strum the same notes on a Sunday afternoon, you know, practicing, like, and it was something he was really passionate about. And so to see that, and to see his drive and motivation, that helped me to be able to be passionate about something and, you know, just hone my craft and just only want to get better at it. But also it's something that I enjoy, so it doesn't feel like work. And I think that was something that my dad, watching him, it helped me to realize, is that, you know, it doesn't feel like work if it's something that you are passionate about.
Yeah. Mr. Jones, you want to jump in? Why? You good? Okay, you still muted too. All right. So, with that being said, when was it that you, I guess that you knew that you would want to be on TV one day, or was this even part of the plan when you decided to go into mass communications? Was this a part of the plan? And if it was, when did it become a part of it?
I think it's always been a part of the plan. I think TV has been a big part of my life. I took my first steps to Soul Train. My mom loved to tell that story. But yeah, I think that my parents having a deep interest in news also influenced me as well, you know, because, you know, at noon, they were going to watch the news, at 5 o'clock, at 6, you know, and oh my gosh, when CNN came out, that was my dad's jam.
Yeah.
Watch CNN like all day, and it would really annoy my mom, but that played a major role.
So when your parents are watching news, right? You talk about all the different times of the day they were watching, and then when CNN came out, like, what did that look like for you, observing and watching that? Was there a certain moment in your life and you said, I want to do that?
Believe it or not, it was a movie, The Best Man. It was the character Jordan. She's a producer, because that was my original gig in this business, was producing. And she was waiting for the character Harper to arrive from the airport. And I remember looking at that scene and saying to myself, like, you know, that's going to be me one day. Like, it was just a thought that I had in my head, like, that's going to be me one day. Like, you know, there was no fear, no hesitation, like, oh, I'm going to do this. And so, and I think, you know, my mother encouraged me to major in mass communication as well, because I really didn't have a picked major when I was getting ready to go to Grambling, the Grambling State University. But yeah, I have any idea in particular of a major. I knew that I liked acting. I knew I wanted to be on TV. And my mom she was like, again, something she saw in the news. She was like, it's a broad field. You can major and do just about anything once you get out of school. And so that helped to actually put me on the right path. I just took her suggestion and just decided, hey, that's what I'm going to major in when I go to college.
Was this like a certain thing that grabbed your attention about producing?
Just being able to be as creative as possible. There are few limitations, and I get to give people who look like me more of a voice. Like I get to decide what people see. Mm-hmm. And, I never even thought about the fact that there's not a lot of people that look like you in this industry, because growing up, I didn't see a lot of, Black women that were in news. There was Jackie Reed mm-hmm. that on BET. And I remember looking up to her, and Oprah, of course, but that's like monumental. But there are very few Black women for me to even look up to. But I never looked at it as that was something that I couldn't do just because people didn't look like me in the industry. Yeah.
Do you think, because music, you have to be creative? I mean, you look at a lot of different art. Jimi Hendrix, this shirt you got on, you talk about a brain of just creation and what he was able to put together. And I can go B.B. King and Bobby Blue Bland and take your time, son. I can go for days. That could be another episode of talking about the blues and cowboy boots. But do you think your father played a big role in the creative side of it? Because watching him play, the guitar all the time.
Absolutely, because I grew up in a musical household, and this is probably something that a lot of people don't even know about me. Like they know that, my dad was in a musical group, but just the overall influence, like I was talking about earlier, of him, like Sunday right now, if I were, in the past, we would be listening to him, like toning his, he had a B.B. King replica guitar, believe it or not. He had a Lucille replica, and my brother has it now. I'm a little sour about that, but it's okay. He can play it, I can't, so he's the better one. So, but that was something that had great influence on my life. Music is another thing that doesn't have a lot of limitations. Mm-hmm. As far as your mind can take it, that's where you can take music. And I think that, being around that creative influence from my father in music, it definitely played a vital role.
Yeah. So we've given Mr. Willie his flowers, right? And Egg and I, we talk about energy a lot, right? Masculine and feminine energies and how they can exist on their own. It's cool for them to exist on their own, but when you have both together and they know how to coexist, right, then you have a synergistic effect, right? So the whole time Mr. Willie's doing his thing, there's also Miss Betty, right, handling business at home and doing her thing and making sure. I knew from a youngster, there were certain women in the church we didn't cross, right? We didn't cross Miss Rebecca, Miss Rebecca Brown. You don't cross Miss Marge, godmother Miss Lee for sure, and you don't cross Miss Betty either, right? So, the same respect we had for the men, we had to have for them as well. So I want you to talk about her influence overall on you as well. And just give her flowers a little bit before we move on.
Oh, my mother, just a lady, just refined, elegant, just like I said, I feel like I'm the manifestation of both of my parents, a creation of both of my parents, of the best parts of them. And she's such a lady. She emphasized, having grace and class and charm and, teaching me how to be a lady. She, wanted me to be a lady so much, she made me a debutante 3 times. having poise about myself. And it's a lot of things that have fallen by the wayside. It's not popular anymore, but they're important. And just having a woman like that as my mother, like, man, I couldn't have picked a better mother, you know. No one could have. It's just her faith in God and just rearing the best children that she could. Like, you are not going to be out of line. In the summer, and me and Chauncey laugh about this all the time. In the summer, we learned English, and like, she was really strict about, like, we had to do like school before we could play. And so, you know, education was important to her too. And, you know, you didn't have to be perfect. If you brought an F home, that was okay, as long as it was the best that you could do. And never, I will say that she never made me feel bad about not being some prodigy or genius or anything like that. Like, if a C was the best I could do, I was still going to get all the accolades for doing the best that I could do. And, you know, like, that's something that's rare, you know?
Yeah. You also mentioned your brother earlier. I'm assuming you're talking about Gerald because you said he could play it. So, and I know he's the one that got the musical.
He got
talent.
all the.
He got all of that.
He's so upset. I was like, he can play the trumpet, he can play the guitar, the bass, the organ. So frustrating.
Yeah, and then he can blow everybody out of the church on top of all that. So, but he's just one of your older siblings. I talked about it being an advantage earlier because they've come along before you, right? Some of them years before you, and seen some of the potholes in the road, so to speak.
Yeah. And
were there to help steer you away from them. So even if you see, when I was younger, Edgar the same, we were both scared of my father. But when we got out of his reach, out of his sight, we still be clear of that.
There's a love. It never goes away for Bo. Matter of fact, Mr. Bo. Uncle Bo.
When we got out of his sight, it was a little easier for us to get out of his sight than it would have been for you to get out of. Once you get out of Miss Betty's sight, you still got all these older siblings that can reel you back in. And I know you're happy for it, but just talk about that a little bit, how that also helped you, just having those older siblings to go and do some things before you. So you got to see that example.
Yeah. You know, it was just like, and I've seen, there's a meme on Instagram, social media about, you know, like, I feel like the adults from back in the day were more grown than we are. And I feel like that's how my sisters and brothers, like, it just feels like they're, you know, there's like about a 25, 26 year age gap between like my eldest siblings. And they just seemed so much growner. And so together, you know, like, them being able to, you know, like having a brother that had already gone through college, you know, having one that, you know, like had a military, Gerald, he had the military background, you know, and Sharon, she had, you know, like the work background, like of just being a working woman, and just seeing them, you know, go for, you know, the things in life that they wanted. It was inspirational, you know, just to have them. And of course, like, you can always go to them for guidance and advice, or, you know, even just a laugh. And I still do that now, you know, we are very close. And so to have them to, you know, lean on, or, you know, hey, I've been down this road before, and, you know, this is a pitfall, you can avoid it by don't do like how I did, or, you know. And so it's a resource that I will always tap into and always appreciate.
I agree with you about them being more grown than we are, right? Because, you know, back then, 17, supposed to be out. Like
Right.
when they said you grown at 17, like they meant it. Like if you hear, I remember an older mate telling me that during cropping season, they would actually get in trouble for going to school because you're supposed to be working to help the family. So if they would sneak to school instead of going to the field. So that's just a testament of where we're from. And then just those days were different. The beautiful thing about this story, our last guest, we hadn't dropped that episode yet, but K-Ron Valentine, he talked about everybody wanting to be from some sort of struggle, right? Every story, success story that you hear, somebody had to start in the hood, one parent here. And most of our people kind of relate to that. But the beautiful thing is it's also okay to be okay and to be raised up in a family where you had both dynamics and you didn't have to worry about certain struggles. So it's beautiful to hear your story,
right?
And for us to highlight you and show you that, okay, because what happens is we have people that are not from any kind of struggle like that, and they run to jump into some kind of struggle, right? When you could just go ahead and take your role. Now, I'm not saying that your life was perfect or didn't have any pit stops in there, but what I'm saying is you don't have to be so ready to go jump into a struggle. It's okay to follow your siblings' advice, right? It's okay to see how your mother was elegant and a lady and be that instead of what you might see on TV or listen to in songs. It's okay to love your daddy, right? And let him have influence on you. So we really did want to highlight you in that regard too. I just mentioned pit stops though, right? And all this couldn't be easy. So was there ever a time where you thought that this wouldn't happen? Because like you said, you jumped into producing with KTBS first. And then even when you got there, you were an executive producer here before you start anchoring. So was there ever a time where you thought it's not going to happen or I want to give up, it's too much? Was there ever a time that you ran into that?
Oh, all the time. Yeah, it happens all, and that's something that's natural. And I also think it's a tool of the enemy. It's a tool of the enemy to, make you doubt yourself. There are plenty of times, because again, the field that I'm in is male dominated on the management side. You see a lot of news. You don't see a lot of women in management in news. And they also don't necessarily look like you and I. Mm-hmm. And so dealing with that is very challenging. And, it still is, just navigating office politics and still trying to stay true to your roots and your morals, values, all of those things. And so definitely challenging. I entered my line of work being told, don't ever think about getting on air. This was during like the interview process when I was getting ready to work in Shreveport at KTBS. I remember, them saying, we hate when people try to come in and, work as a producer, but they really want an on-air gig. And I didn't think anything of it because in my mind, I wasn't ready to even try to pursue an on-air career. So to be told that by someone, or even to be told like it's not possible to go from producing straight to anchoring. You're going to have to report and, you're going to have to pay your dues and work your way up. And I never listened to it though. Like I literally accomplished all of the things through God's help without doing all the things that people said I was going to have to do. They said I couldn't go from being a producer to the anchor desk. I did it. I worked in a top 100 market, no experience. They hired me based off of the good faith of the word of someone else that I networked in grad school. And I took it as an opportunity to grind. Okay, I've got my foot in the door. I've got to do the best that I can with this opportunity. And so, but there were tons of times where, I was like, I'll just be a librarian. said that so many times. Like so if you said it around somebody, it's a running joke. They'd probably be like, "You talking about Kyla, huh?"
Yeah.
Kyla, you man, you just said a lot right there, and just awesome job to you, and staying grounded in your faith, and your belief system and what was instilled inside of you. Because really, at that moment, or those couple of moments that you talked about, is pretty much people trying to put their limitations that they put on themselves.
Yeah.
They tried to place it on you, and I've experienced that a lot throughout my little journey. But it's and then you know, so the limitations that people try to put on you, and then you talked about, which me and Courtney talk a lot about, is basically a relationship that you build in grad school. Was it with someone? Yeah, that relationship you built in grad school. You know, that had nothing to do with your personality. It had everything to do with your character and who you are, and not just who you are, but what was instilled inside you at an early age, based off how your mom and your dad and your brother and sisters them operated in life. Talk about just, you know, through the course of time from college up until this point, just how those relationships have been extremely important in what you're doing now.
Oh man, it's been vital. Like even my friendships in college, you know, just in playing around. Sometimes just in college, something might happen on campus and I would just break out and pretend I was reporting, you know. That always got a bunch of laughs. And just having them believe in me and never saying like for a second that I couldn't do what I do. And it's good to have a great circle around you. I've always said that I feel like if I never become just like a multi-millionaire, billionaire, whatever, even if I do, I'm still richer now with the friendships that I have. And again, I couldn't have picked better friends. I didn't pick these people. I think that these are people got planted in my life, but you have to know how to recognize it. You know, like these people have been planted here in your life as a support system.
Yeah.
You can recognize it easier as you get older, but for me to know that I had solid people early on, because the friends I made in Grambling, we talk every day.
Yeah.
That somebody's going to laugh about something and they are interested in what I'm interested in because I'm interested in it and because they love and care about me. And that's vital too. Yeah,
it is. It's extremely important. Those relationships. I think about people that I've met in college during my time playing ball that I talk to till this day. You know, we have such a strong relationship with each other based off just character and who that person was and how we just operated through life and the energy that we put off on each other. Earlier, you talked about passion, right? You know, things in life that we're passionate about. And we know that life is going to continue to do what it needs to do.
Yeah.
And eventually, at some point in time, adversity comes. Throughout this journey that you've been on, what would you say, or can you recall a moment where you really felt like you were being pushed, you were really being challenged? And how did you respond to that?
I'll say producing is very challenging. Because when I started, I had zero skills. I only had book knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Knew what I had learned in the classroom, even though I did work at the TV station at my undergrad school. When I was in school at Grambling, it wasn't the same, you know, and like even the book knowledge, the application process of it there was a disconnect. And so I felt like I was being pushed into something that it was unfamiliar. Like I had to learn how to have sound news judgment, and even learning things that I was unfamiliar with, like legal terms, and like literally learn a little bit of everything. And so that's a lot. like, you're just coming right out of college and, it's like, oh, there's a court case and, there's a grand jury. But like, if you don't know what a grand jury is, or like, you're just lost. And so like, there's a lot of learning that goes into it. And so those are like some of those moments where things were just really trying, because it's just like, I don't know what I'm doing. Or if I'm not living up to someone's standards who say been in the industry for 30 years, they're not kind, If you make those mistakes, they are not kind. This is an industry where tough skin, if you don't have it, you better find some, or at least find out how to deal with, some of those.
Skin like an armadillo.
Alligators and something, because
I'm talking about the alligators. I just went boots. Yes, I have. And I got an ostrich running, right? Me and my boots again. Go ahead, Courtney. Take it.
Yeah. Well, you just talked about being thrown into the fire, right? And Edgar has a speaking engagement coming up, and we like to collab on some of the content. And I told him the other day that I think the craftsmanship of a sword is a good place to start with graduating students, because whenever swords are being made, right, you find the materials, they thrown into the fire, melted down, right? All these different materials are melted down, and then they're cooled off, cooled and heated, tempered. That means they're gonna get beat on a little bit, right? Then folded into a certain shape, right? And then they have to get sharpened out, and then they have to get tested, right? Before it's time to use it, resharpened, and then thrown into production, or into the warrior's hand to use, right? And now you're a finished sword, but we know as it gets used, right, you still have to sharpen those skills as you go, because as you cut, the blade gets duller. You know what I'm saying? It might chip off a piece, and it has to be whipped back into shape. You talked about your preparation earlier. I know that's a big part of sharpening your sword. Do you watch, because this is a big thing in Edgar's line of work now, and when he's playing ball, do you watch film on yourself, right? What is Kyla's film study on herself? Do you use that to kind of help you sharpen your tools? Or if you don't, what do you use to help keep yourself sharp?
Oh, I critique myself every day. I go back and watch my newscasts every day. If I could have made more emphasis on something, or, like if I needed to punch that word better, or, look more serious when I come up on camera, everything. I critique myself all the time, because you could just get better. It was a phrase that I didn't originally like to hear, but sometimes you just have to step back and just be honest, and we can always get better and always improve. And so that's what I'm always working on, because of course, my father's up there down below, and, my mother's still here, and I just want them to always be proud, and my whole family, So I want to become the best version of me, better than yesterday's version of me every single day.
Yeah. So since you've been doing it, and you say you do watch a newscast over, what's been your favorite story so far? Your favorite one that you've covered that really stands out to you?
Covering our high school band coming back, believe it or not, like of all the things, that was like, it had a close place in my heart, because it's interesting to see all my classmates doing all these positive things. And staying within the communities. A lot of times it's popular to move off, get to a high-rise apartment, overlooking the city. No, that's all we but like some of the most charming things are watching all my classmates in my community. Like, I had a classmate who was my nurse when I was out sick, and I just thought that was adorable. Like, and so I cherish that. Yeah.
I figured, that's why I asked. I figured that might be it. But so you talked to Edgar. Edgar's big on growth. We talk all the time, because we keep mentioning each other, so you can probably tell. it's a daily or at least every 2 days we're talking. But we just had a conversation before you actually got into the waiting room about growth, right? That's one of his major coaching concepts. Is growth and how we do it. Most of the time, talked about earlier, being thrown in that fire, that discomfort of not knowing how, not having the skill is what pushes you to ultimately learn it and get it and be the best you can be at it. What's next on the horizon? Because we talk about having growth plans, right? You're anchoring now. You talked about management. So what's next on the horizon for you?
I have not given up on my dreams of acting. That was always and I have Mrs. Lee to thank for that. And Miss Janice Knight, and Rayville Native.
Yeah.
I'm not done with that. I have an opportunity that's been presented to me here recently to be an extra, and so that's what's next for me. Like that's where I am focusing my energy. So
yeah, and then it's gonna happen like we claimed earlier, but whatever you want, we speak it into existence. We write it down, we focus on it. It's gonna happen, right? So congratulations on that before it even happens to you. Congratulations on the opportunity of having that. But with that will come more discomfort and then hopefully more growth, because you'll be into a new lane, even though it's something you've been wanting to get into. The nerves will be there. You talked about your dad. You never asked him if he was nervous. Even though he was prepared, I guarantee you he was nervous. I played ball. Even before we press record on this, there's always a little bit of jitter there, right?
Yeah.
That's your adrenaline, though. That's your fight or flight. We were playing ball. The national anthem's playing with nervous. By the time you kick off and you get in the middle of it and you get hit that one time, or you deliver a hit, it's all now you're going on what you prepared with, right? So I guarantee you he was nervous. And I know it'd be some nerves involved in that with you. I saw on your first broadcast, once you posted it, you let us know that the nerves were there. So with that being said, there's a lot of people younger than us, a lot of people that be watching this, some older than us, that have been wanting to try something, right? And right when they get right in the front of it, they get nervous. They get these nerves. What is your process of dealing with yours? Is it a breathing regimen that you have? What is it that you do to calm those nerves and get yourself set to lights, camera, action, to go out there and do what you got to do?
Well, now with going into every newscast, it's really all just preparation and communication. Making sure I know what I'm supposed to know. Looking over the shows, anything that you're getting ready to do, you have to be prepared. You're only going to be more nervous when you go into something and you don't have a clue what you're doing, or you're just not as knowledgeable about it. You have to make sure to ask questions, don't be afraid to ask. It's okay to ask questions. If it's a stupid question, well, guess what? Sometimes there are unknown unknowns. There's stuff that you don't know, and it's okay to ask questions. And don't let the fear of somebody making you feel like you're stupid stop you, because people will try to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Basically what I heard is control what you can control, right? We only really have control over a couple of things in our lives, and that's one major one being our actions and then our reactions. So your actions going in, preparation. Can't control what the other anchor says. You can't control if your mic goes out, if you lose sound, whatever. But you can control what you do in reaction to that, and you can control your proaction, which would be you being prepared. I'm gonna pass this back to Edgar, but a buddy of mine, a guy I met last year through Laquita Vaughn, named Darian Blue, right? He was talking to me. I was telling him about my family, about Edgar, and he said, that we had social capital. That's what he said, right? And a lot of people that I tell about where we're from, Egg and I call it Goon, Goblin, and Viking University. Some people may think that when I speak about some of the people that I know and that I'm related to, and we consider you family as well, of course. Shout out to Captain Kurt, Mr. Chauncey Robson. That's my been family forever. Like our families have been intertwined forever. Anyway, I know some people think that I'm talking about Wakanda, where they can't believe that all of these wonderful people come from this little bitty place.
Right.
It's a magical place. So before I let Edgar jump in, I just want you to talk about the impact of Rayville itself, the people, the work ethic, the values that we picked up along the way. Talk about how that had an impact on you.
Oh man, you just reinforced something that I said Friday to our sports director, Chris Demergen. Mm-hmm. He was talking about, I think, the basketball team, but I was just really celebrating the fact that, Rayville is this charming little town. Those are my exact words to him. It's just like it's in this bubble from the outside world of, a lot of the negative stuff. A lot of things that kids dealt with growing up. We didn't have, those problems, and I have even grown now as an adult to appreciate small town living. Everybody knows your mama, and, you can't get out of line, or like for a long time, you're not even your own name. Like, that's Miss Betty's daughter. You really, or, and so like those things, they just help to groom you for, people skills. Like, it just really hones like having those social skills, people skills, like being considerate and compassionate. It's easy to do that when everybody knows everybody, and and it's easy to rear someone else's child. It's like, oh, I know your mom, I'm gonna tell Miss Gail on you.
Yeah.
So those things keeps you on the right path. It's a blessing.
Yep, it's the Cheers theme song, right?
Yeah.
Don't you want to go where everybody knows your name? So the only place you can go to, I can literally just walk into the mayor's office when I go home and say, "What's up, Coach? How you been?" Right?
Exactly.
And I say, Mr. Mayor, whatever, and he'll have a long conversation with me, and you know what I'm saying? Like it's like that there. And so that place has impacted all of us. None of us would be who we are or be able to do whatever we do today without that place and the people in Absolutely. That place. Your Miss Lee's, your Miss Betty's, your
Miss Peller,
Miss Peller. We can just keep going on Mr. Ezel West, Miss Betty West, like those people that we were fortunate enough to have put their hands on us and help rear us through. It wouldn't be no us without that. We'll pass it on to you, Mr. Jones.
No, man, I'm just listening to those memories and those social skills. We spend a lot of time talking about just engaging with people and being intentional when it comes to speaking to people and saying hello and saying goodbye. And don't walk into no place and not say, "Hey, how y'all doing?" Because I remember as a kid, if I walked into my grandmama's house and walked into anybody's house, and they be like, "You ain't speaking? What's wrong with you?"
Go back out.
Go back out until you get your mind right. So even now, like places I go, just speaking to people, saying hello, asking, "Hey, how's your day going? Thank you for this. I appreciate you." All those little things, you don't see it so much. So now it sticks out so much. Mm-hmm. And it's really the foundation, a part of the foundation of how we grew up, and just carrying those skills along in life and realizing that in itself has just opened up doors for people to want you to be around. Hey man, I want to introduce you to this person, just how you interact with people. So, but if we didn't have that as children, if we didn't see that blueprint of how you were supposed to operate in life, and not just them tell us about it, but them live it out. You know, I think it's one thing to say yes, but to live out your yes when you don't want to live it out. And our parents and aunts and uncles and just people in that town of Rayville, they lived out their yes, even as sometimes they probably didn't want to do it. When they didn't want to go to work, they still said yes because I got, I got things to do. And that just doesn't apply, but that applies to your faith as well. You know, when I don't feel like getting up, praying or getting into my word, right? Like I'm still going to say yes because I committed to this. You talked about some earlier questions. And I love questions. The right questions will just guide you to what you need. It lets you know if you probably need to be quiet or keep saying something. They help with engagement with the individual. They help with curiosity, being creative. And children ask a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes they may be asking a challenge, but for the most part, they're asking because they just don't know. Lawyers, doctors, police officers ask questions. They come up with a lot of questions, But I think there's a lot of power in what you said of just raising your hand to say, hey, I don't know, or asking a question. Because when we were children, that was just a natural thing. But as we've gotten adults, at some point in time of the world throwing all these different things on us and making us feel like, well, if I say this, I'm going to look stupid. If I ask this question, I'm going to look crazy. It takes a lot of courage to actually raise your hand and say, hey, I don't know. Can you explain this to me? Can you elaborate on this a little bit more? And I can see from you just in your journey, the curiosity that you've had of just being able to do that. And if it wasn't for just that in itself, it will be difficult just to get to the place that you are now. So it's just cool. It's just cool to hear the journey of everything that you've been through and what you've accomplished. And I can only imagine that, because when people see you on the camera, it's only a fraction of what took place during the week.
Right.
It's a fraction of what took place during the month and the years and those long days and those long nights. Because at the end of the day, we're still human, right? Regardless on our faith. So there are those days when for that hour, that day was just doubt and you worry, did I do a good job on this? So, but I want to say I'm proud of you just to muster through that.
Thank you.
Of the internal dialogue and beating that. Because that's his own that's his own
struggle.
That's a struggle, right? And just doing that and overcoming that and continuing to still stay strong and battling through that to be at the moment that you are in your life now.
Thank you so much. That means a lot.
No problem.
Yeah. And so before we do wrap, I also want to give you your flowers and kudos, right? Because one thing I definitely see and notice every time I do catch you on, and I'm way in Ohio, so most of the time I have to catch it on Facebook, which is the new news, right? We even watch news on Facebook, so I catch it on there. But one thing I do see, and I want to thank you for, is representing us, right? The way you dress, right? Showing love to the HBCUs. You're not trying to having your hot girl hair slay like you got on right now. You know what I'm saying? Some of the t-shirts, I notice it. The jewelry, it's us. You know what I'm saying? And that's big because I know for a fact, I can imagine us being from rural South, in rural South. Some things they probably want you to change or to turn down a little bit, but you don't. So I wanna commend you on doing that for one. Also for carrying the torch so gracefully, right? Because if you're not the first, I don't know any from Rayville that were news anchors, right? Not any Black women for sure. So for you to carry that torch so gracefully, and be a representation for, I have 2 daughters, right? So neither one of them said they want to be in the news yet, but just to be able to look and see that and say, okay, well, that's a possibility. right? Because we came up, you just had the OG Judy Wagner, right? That was on the news. I remember her coming to our school and me thinking, oh man, that's the first celebrity I met, right? Because you see her on TV all the time. And I was a little boy, I was at Little Flower, and I remember asking her where was Fred because Fred was my favorite character. I thought old Fred was real, so I wanted to know where my boy Fred was. But on a serious note, just you carrying that torch and for being a goal, because I tell everybody, not just us, not just you, most people walking around, adults, older people, we are somebody's goal, whether that be good or bad, whether we living right or we living wrong with somebody's goal. And thank you for being that type of goal, you know, like I said, for young, not only young Black girls or not only young Black people, but for young people from where we're from, right? To see you on there, whether you want it to be, whether it was intentional or not, you're a goal, right? And I'm sure you're well aware of it. You've had to prep for it, right? You've been reared a certain type of way. Miss Betty taught you how to carry that on through as a lady, Miss 3-time debutante. I just want to thank you for that, for real, because because coming up, right, you all are ahead of me in school. You'll be class of 01. Am I right?
Yeah.
Class 01, but coming up in the church, I shouted out Macedonia from jump. As youngsters, we had to watch y'all, so we knew what we had ahead of us by watching y'all before us, right? So I always been there watching, and like I said, our families have always been integrated, right? We had a lot of fun and memories with you, me, Chauncey, Tim. Hey, like it's a lot of, you know what I'm saying? A lot of memories there, but I was always watching all of y'all, really. I like to tell people I got to go to college when I was in junior high, thanks to Tim and Nene, you know what I'm saying? So, but you're a part of that, right? Because you're before us and we're watching people close to us, and it's letting me know, oh, I can leave from home and go to college and I'll be all right. I can go do it too. You know what I'm saying? So just thank you for being a personal goal, but now for so many, because everybody gets to see you, right? Thank you for handling that so gracefully. Look like we lost her. We'll try to get her back in here. You still muted over there, Mr. John?
Yeah, we lost her for a second, but no, man, it's just big in what she's doing and what she's still being able to carry the torch. In the position that she's at. You know, again, like I said, man, it's and when you look at something that someone's accomplished on a high level, just people that's striving to be better on a day-to-day basis, there's the internal battle that goes on that we all have and deal with, that you're trying to deal with on a day-to-day basis, and being able to be at a place in her life where she's still rising above the occasion. I think it's also interesting to hear and for her to talk about having the older brothers and sister as well, you know, light years ahead of her. And it kind of goes back to cutting that time in half, you know what I'm saying? Of like we always say, right? Like as fathers, as brothers, as friends, or any young adult life that we point into, if they can learn what we learned at our age, right, then we didn't cut the time in half. That if they can learn, if my brother can learn what I knew at 22, by the time he gets to 38, if he knew what I knew at my age that I'm at now, by the time he gets to my age, with him being 22, man, he'll be light years ahead of me. I don't know if that made any sense, but the point is to pass down knowledge. Let me just say that, ladies and gentlemen, to pass down knowledge. I cracked up, pretty sure I screwed that up, but to pass down information.
Yeah, I think
so. Yeah.
what Mr. Jones was saying was that hopefully.
I'm so sorry.
It's all right.
It's
We was
okay.
over here laughing because I just
Yeah.
messed something up, but I had to make sure that I elaborate on that a little bit more to pass down knowledge. That's what it's about, ladies and gentlemen.
We control what we control. I think what Edgar was trying to say.
So sorry.
He can imprint 38-year-old Edgar onto 22-year-old JW's mind, and he starts to think as 38-year-old Edgar thinks now. By the time he turns 38, he'll be way ahead of 38-year-old Edgar. That's what you were getting at.
This is the reason why this guy's my partner in crime. Because what I cannot do, he will make me better. Oh man. Yeah. Yes, that's what I was saying. Thanks, Courtney.
We had a little technical difficulty. I think quote unquote enemy didn't want us to give you your flowers properly, but as long as you heard them, and we gave
sorry
them to
about
you.
that.
No, that's all
I
right.
had to run and grab my charger.
I already knew what went
out
on.
of my office. I'm so sorry.
It's okay, but we
preparation. We've had this happen before. I done lost Courtney in the middle of him talking to somebody about something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah. Tell me about this shirt you got on. Just keep the comments. Hey, ask a question. Just ask another question, man.
They edit. Don't panic. Run.
Yes. Ask another question.
Oh my God.
If it's one thing we can do is we can talk too much. So when you left, we just talked until you came back. I knew you were coming back. You know what I'm saying? But
for sure.
yeah. Anyway, that was us giving you your flowers as the news lady, and we got to flex our social capital tonight. So I can make me a little inbox on Facebook and get the news later on the L.I.T Code. How many of y'all can brag that? I can.
Hey. Oh man.
Yep. So thank you for being you and being you on TV. That's what I was rapping. That's what I was about to say before we had our technical difficulty, but glad to have you back, and we appreciate you for coming on and sharing your time, because I know that can get kind of stretched thin sometimes in your line of work and going to see mama and all that. But the other thing I was going to say is I also wanted to shout out your support system, which would be your family. There's a picture you posted after Thanksgiving. And I have Egg and I come from a big family, a big blended family, because my mother's side and my father's side are like one big family anyway. But that picture that you showed, right? You know, a lot of people may not have
was it Bayou Classic?
Yeah. A lot of support. So Edgar talked about it earlier. People, when you're on screen, you only get to see a fraction of that preparation that went in, a fraction of all the back and forth in your mind. And you also don't get to see that big support system. So shout out to them for supporting you and each other, because you're not the only one doing great things in the family. There are others. But we're here to highlight Kyla tonight. So we appreciate you coming on.
Thank you so much.
Yep. You got any parting words, Edgar or Kyla, either one of y'all, before we?
I don't. I mean, we're really just proud of you. You know, like I said earlier, just proud of you, and
thank you.
Continue to keep being an influence and having a positive impact that you have in so many people's lives. And a lot of times we don't understand that and we won't see it, but our job is to continue to live it. And you're doing a great job of doing that.
Thank you, gentlemen, so much. And I want to reciprocate the love. I am so proud of you all. It is such a great thing to say that I know positive Black male role models. A lot of what we see on social media it doesn't paint our Black men in a very good light. Which is why I am glad to be in the industry that I'm in, to kind of help control the narrative. But I am very, Edgar, you and Courtney, I am very proud of you all. Like when I see the coat drives and, that really just has a soft spot in my heart. I'm just like, look at these young Black men, caring for the community and, picking up where somebody may be slacking, where there may not be a father in the home and all. So I really, and I told Delvin and Derek the same thing when I interviewed them. It was just so wonderful to see all these young Black men that I went to school with, church with, and you all are doing the thing. Like, I am like, wow. And don't turn it up. Don't turn it down ever. Please. Because, we need to fight. The only way we can fight against what the media puts out there is by you all being your authentic selves, and taking what you all have learned out into the world. And so I'm very, 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 very proud of you all for your accomplishments, and can't wait to see what else you all have up your sleeves. So,
and thank you, and the feeling is mutual. Egg, I saw you smirking up there because she's really confirming things that we've been talking about already.
Yeah.
Wow! Oh my goodness.
So we taught to be humble, right, and be not to really. I mean, we still won't be bragging, but we do. We talk about how we have to start showing some of the things we do more, because the opposite of what we do is being shown constantly over and over and over and over again. And these kids can just pick up a tablet and see it and see it and see it. And we're not showing them that there's another example you can follow. Then that's on us. You know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of people in our age group, I don't think we realize that we're in this age group now because our parents did such a great job. So
it's time for us to pick it up. It's like, y'all are getting old. It's time.
Yeah. and that's why I thank you for carrying that torch, because a lot of us don't even know we're supposed to be picking it up. A lot of us are just complaining and not realizing, well, when we had all this stuff to do, our parents were the age that we are now, so it's on us now. It's time for them to rest. So again, we I know I appreciate your words wholeheartedly. I know Edgar does as well. So thank you as well for your words to us. And again, right back at you. And with that being said, this is the L.I.T Code. We out.